Sound muted.
Okay, that should be fixed. Let me go ahead and refresh, make sure I'm actually streaming. Muted myself. Okay. You can't see my freaking mouse pointer on this. Son of a bitch. Is there a way to edit it, actually? Okay, this might actually work. Let's do like that. Okay, that should work. Let me go ahead and open this up instead. Window capture. Paint. There we go. Okay. Cool. Okay, let me change my marker to be white. Okay, that works. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so rendering plant. The biggest thing to know about this map is the fact that this choke point right here, I can't even draw a circle. My handwriting sucks. Don't make fun of me. So this is the biggest thing to know about this map is this choke point right here. If the monster ever goes north up in this direction, he's got plenty of feed. There's almost always a herd of canyon striders here, as well as back here. And over here, there's usually a mega mouth sometimes around in this little area. I know it shows it's down here, but it usually seems to be up here sometimes. That being the case, though, if you're ever up here, the trapper always wants to try and be very close to this line. The reason why is because at this point you can probably do a good 3-1 split and start harassing the monster as much as possible, because if the monster does go down here, yeah, he'll probably get some feed, but you're not going to be able to get past here with a good trapper on his tail. So usually the north area is a very bad and sad area for the monster. There's a small cave entrance over here, and there's also a cave right here. A lot of times the monster will evolve right here, and a lot of times hunters will actually miss that area. So just be careful of it. But because this is kind of like the only area that's really got any cave area, this is actually a very good carrion spawn rate area. So a lot of times most monsters rarely go start up north. I feel like that it's a very weak start, mostly because if you get down here, you can get caught up here, or if they find you down here, you should have enough to evolve. You run past, you go ahead, you evolve. There's plenty of food, and then you're stage 2. So then if you do get domed, it's not so bad. But going up here at stage 1, I'm not the biggest fan of. That being the case, yes, that is correct, IG. If you do have Sunny on your team, there isn't a reason to have your Trapper back here, but that's because Sunny kind of breaks the current meta with Trappers in general anyway. So good point. That being said, monsters like to usually go south. So the monster spawns right here. If he goes this way through the building in the arc, there's usually a couple of Armadons down here, but since we're not playing with perks, however, there is a cave network down here. There's usually a few Canyon Striders, as well as right around here. You can also get a couple of Canyon Striders. And then there's a tunnel back here that usually has a few Reavers. Once in a while, you might get lucky and get a Canyon Strider to run in there with you. But that's kind of one of the few areas. So if you can't find the monster, there's no footprints, and you do split up, generally I would probably stick on focusing on the southern side. Have one group check the caves in the ocean over here, have the others check the cave and ocean, or not ocean over here, but check the caves over on this side. Usually if you can control those little areas, you should be good. Down here is kind of a nasty area, so if you ever do dome the monster down here, please pay attention to mammoth birds and the stupid nomads. Like, I've seen so many games end because of these nomad a-holes down here. So just be mindful of them. So usually if you're in this area, it's not the greatest place to dome, and if you have Sunny on your team, you can actually kind of forego doming them because you can dome whatever you want with Sunny. That being the case, the monster can knock some people way far out in this area. The acid does extremely little damage. Like, it's so minor that it might as well not even be in the game at this point. And so that usually what good monsters will do is they'll usually either go this way. If they're going loud, they actually usually just cut straight through down here, just because there's usually a bunch of Canyon Striders on the way. You can find some mammoth birds. You get a little bit of protection, and then you can go this way or that way depending on where the trapper is. So if the trapper's over here, you can kind of juke around them and then go head north. Whereas if the trapper's over here, you can go out through the beach. The trapper usually falls back to the central area. Again, the central area is always going to be a good doming area, but it does give the monster enough time to kind of make a decision to engage or to escape. So usually most monsters go down here. So usually if you can't find signs of the monster, I usually send a group in this direction and then over here, and if you can't find them, this team goes this way and this team goes over here. If the monster is up north, even, you know, he'll most likely set off carrion birds, especially if he's gorging, because there's not much 3-meats up there, and very rarely do they go after the mega mouse. It's kind of smart to go after the mega mouse up there, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of it, just because that north area just kind of sucks and it kind of just pigeonholes you in there. So any questions about the map or anything? I'll let my stream catch up. Other notable areas to dome is this seems to be not really a popular area, but there's a lot of domes go up here. The big thing is if you're up on the platform here, be careful about getting knocked under. There's a lot of sight issues. There's also usually a herd of reavers right around... Oops. Right around here. So if you do dome, this kind of half of the map, I would say, has a lot of hostile wildlife in general. So just be careful if you do dome down here. So the monsters like to get kind of domed in this area, but as a hunter, just make sure you kill the wildlife first and then concentrate on the monster. That being the case, yeah, the biggest thing though is this choke point. I feel like the control of this choke point is really, really key, especially for a monster, just because if you can control this choke point, you effectively cut the map almost in half, and if the monster does try and go by, it's really easy to dome. So if you use a griffin, putting like one of the new shiny sensors like right here and then right here will guarantee that you'll get any sneaking monster. It's kind of a waste to put 2 there. You probably only need 1 on the like little here or the truck like nearby, but if you do put 2, that'll guarantee that he can never sneak by either, which may fall into your strategy. That being the case, let's go ahead and group up in the game. I think I am joined. Okay. Here, let me go ahead and show up the other map real quick, because I kind of want to go over a little bit about formations real quick. Give me 1 second.
Because I know at stage 1 you've said before that we tend to stay too close to each other. You actually, since the monster doesn't have that much damage or kill potential at stage 1, there's no need to be like hugging each other at stage 1. But as he stages up, you need to get closer together.
Okay, so if you watch my stream real quick, this is going to be a little bit laggy behind, but I'm going to draw a couple of circles real quick.
Just explain what you're talking about, and we'll see the circles as they come up. And so if we were like, where was he talking about, then we'll see the circle.
Yep.
Okay. Oops. Okay, so that's kind of a crappy way of drawing it, but basically this is how I like to see splits. So if you kind of string each other out, Assault should always be on the farthest end of the map. Like he should always be the furthest one out. Every time I see a medic out further in the towards the borders of the map, I feel bad because that's not good. Because what happens is if the monster engages the Assault goes back to the medic, then the medic and Assault go back to the support, and then all 4 of them can go back to the Trapper if need be. So basically, like you want to stay probably about 40 to 50 meters, always within line of sight in case you get pounced or mega mouth or plant or whatever. But always you want to have like this outer ring is always going to be the Assault's main dominion. Then you want like kind of like the medic kind of floating like right behind, then followed by the support and Trapper. The Trapper should be the least mobile of the most. Basically, he usually just picks a high ground, and he either kind of gives visual aid, saying, I think I heard something over here, and he'll ping, or he'll say, or just somewhere to stay high so that the monster can't sneak by. Whereas the support kind of is like a forward scout for the Trapper, and so the Trapper, if he ever starts to engage, can either cloak and then run back to the Trapper or vice versa. But rarely do you want the Trapper to actually go towards the Assault and Medic unless the monster is committing to them and doesn't look like that they're going to go away, in which case you can go for the Dome. That's why the Medic and Assault are good together, is because the monster, when they're getting pressured, has to make a choice. Do I sit here and try and wait for the Trapper to get to me and take damage in the meantime until that happens, or do I try and run past and try and get for the to escape the dome, and putting that pressure on is very, very significant. So definitely a stage 1, this should absolutely be how it's spread out. Stage 2, I'd probably cut, maybe 10-15 meters, make it a little bit tighter, and then stage 3, probably about another 10-15 meters as well.
Run
because
as a gaggle.
Exactly.
So this is actually really cool on this map because I wouldn't have thought of this, but it's actually you can basically just keep the trapper in the middle, and that prevents the monsters from switching sides of the map, and then you can just pendulum across with your hunters spaced out like that, and you'll eventually run into the monster or and then flush him towards the trapper. Like he can't change sides with the trapper sitting there, so that's pretty cool.
Exactly.
I thought of that on this map.
Yeah. So if you look at my horrible drawing in a second, you're gonna make it look like somebody with a thumb and a finger up. But this is basically the trapper's kind of main area. The biggest thing to worry about is this big building really blocks you. So you're either going to be over here or you're going to be over here. Rarely do you have time to cut between. There is a little passage here, but it takes a long time to get through. But in general, this is kind of the general area the trapper always wants to stick on this map. Sometimes the trapper likes to stay up here because there's a little bit of high ground and it gives him a little bit of view towards the cave over here, and especially this entrance if the monster's being sneaky, and then he can just jetpack over here or over there if the monster is escaping. The nice thing about this little area is that if the monster does try and wrap around, he has to expend it. It's easy for Kraken to kind of like wall hump, but against a Goliath and pretty much everybody else, they can't afford to do that. So then the trapper just stays here, and I just made a big mess, but that's okay. I guess that's all going to catch up. It's kind of probably weird, like me talking 15 seconds about drawing things that I'm not even drawing. But yeah, this is kind of the general area. But yeah, you always want so you basically always want Assault to be on the outside of the map. So he's basically always going to be the one looking in the nooks and crannies and things like that. Whereas the medic right behind is always going to be relatively between him and the support. And then it basically gets in through that central area. So at a distance, everyone could be 40, 50 meters spread apart as long as line of sight's met and you're not going around a corner just to get hit with a rocket throw in the face. But in general, those are the splits for that reason. However, on this map, is there a way to just clear everything?
Lotus again.
Control Z spam, that works. That being the case, so if the trapper is in this location and the monster is in the north somewhere in this area, absolutely go as a 3-1 split. That should be fine. The trapper should be able to go ahead and dome pretty much any monster that tries to get past, barring any kind of weird shenanigans. Just be careful that if you do that, though, make sure you're not all three of you right here, then the monster goes around and just tackles this guy because you're not there. So this is a case where a 3-1 split would actually work out, especially as a stage 1, but the trapper has to do a really, really good job of being able to survive until the support can run in and cloak him as soon as that happens, or the medic comes in. A lot of times what we would do when Chipro was our trapper and I was support is that he would actually be by himself, and so once he throws down the dome, I run in, I cloak him, we go to a spot, wait for the assault medic to catch up, and then we just unleash hell.
Okay.
Cool beans. Okay, let's get this started.